Much for sticking with me in these videos. I really hope that they are giving you a lot of information and a lot of hope and a lot of insight and a lot of confidence that you really do have the ability to negotiate directly with your banks for some drastic, massive reductions in your debt so that you can get out of debt and be credit card debt free very, very soon, much sooner than the 20 years that it's going to take to pay off even a small debt at the minimum monthly payment. That's our goal, for you to be 100% debt free as quickly and inexpensively as possible. When you do engage in negotiating with a bank for a reduction in your debt, their goal is always to keep you making that minimum monthly payment, to keep you on monthly payments at full interest forever. Their goal is to make all of the balance back and all of the interest, even if it takes 20 years. And they have a lot of methods to do it, all of which I call intimidation. Some of them are kind, some of them are harsh. They all have to fall within the limitations and guidelines of the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which I go into in the Debt Reduction Made Easy book and course. But even the kind ones, I still call them intimidations, because this is the definition of intimidation: to frighten or overawe someone, especially in order to make them do what you want. That's the definition of intimidation, which means that it's the old saying, like, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Or the other one is, use a carrot instead of a stick. They will use vinegar and they will use sticks, but they will also use honey and they will also use carrots. They will both do kind things and harsh things to try and manipulate you emotionally, to frighten or overawe you into getting back on regular monthly payments at full interest. That is their goal. And I go into all of the intimidations that they go into: verbal enticements and verbal abuses, and tangible enticements and tangible abuses, and all of that in depth in the Debt Reduction Made Easy book and course. But I wanted to go over a little bit of it today in what could be a likely script of what a debt collection call could look like. So you have got your phone rings and you answer it, and it's your bank calling because you're delinquent on your payments. The debt collector is calling to talk to you about your payment. I would answer and I would say, hello. It's always a robocall. It's always a computer. They don't have people making every phone call and dealing with people who aren't there. Computer calls. And when you say hello, it waits for a couple of seconds. That's why it says silence here. And when you say hello again, that's what transfers it to a real person to actually get on the phone with you, which was actually kind of a nice cue. If I was out somewhere doing something, maybe working or trying to raise money to pay on my debt, or out with my family or something, and I would answer the phone, and then about that pause, and I didn't want to talk to them right in that moment, I would know that that's what it was, and I could hang up. Or if I did have time and it was a good time to talk, I could take the call. I never tried to avoid the debt collectors entirely. In the course, I say don't. My whole position in negotiating reductions on debt directly with your bank is that you're not going to run away from your debt, but that you are going to face it like the CEO of the corporation of you, and talk to your bank about it and work out a mutually beneficial situation that works for everybody. But there are times where you just don't want to talk. So if that you answer and there's that beep, that silence, and it's a debt collector, you can hang up if you need to, or stay on the phone. So I'd say hello a second time. They would come on. Good morning, sir. How are you? I'd say I'm fine. I made a habit of not answering any more than the question. How are you? I'm fine. I would not launch into story. And I talk a lot in the course about how our need to launch into story is because we're emotionally agitated and upset. And much of the course, much of the Debt Reduction Made Easy method is about overcoming all those emotions of debt: the pain and fear and stress and anxiety and shame and guilt and nervousness and lack of confidence that make us want to go talk, or get angry. Getting angry is just as bad as talking too much. When you start to let go of the emotions entirely, there's a whole process for it in the course. That's when you're able to answer that phone with confidence. How are you? I'm fine. No agitation at all. It would be common for them to confirm my identity. What's your full name and birth date? Maybe address, the last 4 digits of my social security number. I had no problem giving this information to them for them to confirm it was me, to speak to me. By the way, a debt collector must know it's you in order to talk about your debt. They are not allowed by law to talk to other people about your debt. They're not even allowed to tell other people that they are a debt collector, which is why they start off with, good morning, I'm calling from this bank. Are you you? If you're not you, they can't say anymore. So they confirm you're you. Little note here: never give your full social security number just the last 4 digits is fine. And then would go into this conversation. This is Kevin calling from Card Services. They may or may not identify the bank at that point. Sometimes I would just not give them any more than they gave. Card Services from where? I'd make them say the name of the bank. They'd say, this is this bank calling about this account ending in this 4 digits. Okay, thank you. Again, I wouldn't launch into story. I put the onus on them to stay on their script and ask their questions. I wasn't going to give them any more than they gave me. Are you aware that your last payment was due on a certain date? Yes, I am. I imagine that some people miss a payment just by accident. They're not trying to miss a payment. They're not going to try and negotiate a settlement. So this phone call of, hey, you missed a payment is enough to have some people go, oh, I'm so sorry. How can I make that payment right now? A lot of the times, this phone call these days is even preceded by an email. When you're delinquent on your payment by a couple of days, you'll just get an email from your bank saying, hey, you missed your payment. Click here to make it now. And if you really did forget, you just make it then. And that is enough for the collection agent to have done their job for the day. In my case, in the case of thousands of my readers and clients, and maybe you, your goal is to negotiate a settlement. So I just would just say, yes, I am aware. And that was it. I wouldn't go into why or what or anything. Just I'm answering your question, which would send them into, okay, well, we're calling to set up that payment today. You can see that right here. I thought this was really well scripted on their part. If they had made it a question, if they had said, can you make that payment today, or can we set up that payment now, that would open up the person on the phone to just say no, which kind of ends their script. But by saying we're calling to set up that payment today, that puts most people into the, well, how do I answer that? I have to think twice to come up with no, I can't. So most people might just go, okay. It's part of their script. It's in their script because it works. They've tested it. That's part of their script for getting people to do what they want, which is to get back on full payments at full interest until they've paid off the full debt and all the interest in total. By the way, one of the things that really launched me into this work, into writing my original book, The Do-It-Yourself Bailout, and then The Debt Reduction Made Easy, and making these videos and doing my video master course and having clients and customers and all of this, is because of these scripts. When I was behind on payments with 6 different banks and they were all calling me 2, 3, 4 times a day, I started to notice that even across different banks, all of their scripts sounded alike. And one day I went, bing, if all their scripts sound alike, it means they've all hired the same consultancy or similar consultancies to come up with these scripts for them because they work. They are treating this like a business. They have a plan for collecting money from me. If I don't do the same, I am going to lose. That is when I started figuring out how to come up with my own scripts to counter theirs, to come up with my own debt reduction plan, to counter their debt collection plan so that I could win. That's really the essence of the whole Debt Reduction Made Easy method, for you to write a business plan as the CEO of the corporation of you in the business of eliminating your debt without a plan, going up against major corporate banks worth hundreds of billions of dollars who have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on consultants to come up with their plan. Without your own plan, you will lose. But with this plan, you can win. I won. In the last video, I took you through all of my personal settlements, and on the website, Debt Reduction Made Easy, there's all sorts of emails there from clients and takes you through their settlements. The method works, but you must have a plan. This is part of that plan. We're calling to set up that payment today. And instead of it being phrased as a question and me saying no, I had to think for a second, and I came up with, I appreciate your call, Kevin. I'd love to make that payment today, which I really did. I wished that I could have been current on my accounts, but I'm unable to, which was the truth. My business partner died during the 2007 subprime mortgage crisis, and going into the 2008 market crash, my business went under. I had assets I couldn't sell, and I was left with debt. I was unable to make those payments. Now, this is where we get into one of those intimidations, but it's a nice one. He's not using a stick, he's using a carrot. I see that you have a great credit score, he would say, and a solid payment history. Can I ask what's caused you to fall behind in your payments? Can you look at how that's an enticement? It's nice, it's complimenting me. You have a great credit score. Implicit in that is ... And if you continue along this process, that great credit score might go down. They're appealing to my emotional connection to my credit score to get me to do what they want, which is get back on full payments. And I'd say, sure, Kevin, thanks for asking. And then this is where I go into this in the course. I had a story I've told you a little bit of my story today. My business partner died during the crash and I couldn't sell some assets and I was paying $4,000 a month in interest and hurtling towards bankruptcy. Your story may be different. You can read some of these here. People, especially after COVID, unemployed for 2 years, interest rates are up, inflation is up, people get injured, they get in car accidents, they get medical bills, their credit card's introductory rate expires and goes from 0 to 18%, or their 18% goes up to 25% with all these interest rate hikes, or people have natural disasters like wildfires and hurricanes and tornadoes that destroy their homes, and all sorts of reasons that people are struggling with credit card debt. You are likely experiencing something like that, job loss, or your business has failed that has put you in a situation you didn't expect to be in. I always recommend just sharing that story with them. There's no reason to hide it. Be truthful. Just keep it succinct. You can see here I go, rambling is a sign of emotional doubt. If you start talking on and on and on, they're going to sense that emotional doubt. If you feel like you need to justify your position, they're going to sense that emotional doubt, which gives them the upper hand on getting you back on full payments at full interest. So I kept it short, but I kept it truthful. And the agents say, I'm so sorry to hear about your troubles. And most of the time they were. These are just people working for a paycheck. There's the old image of that collection agent in a boiler room, pulling out all the stops to intimidate you. All of that went away mostly with the 2010 Credit Card Act, where they weren't allowed to do a lot of that. But they also weren't allowed to do a lot of that years earlier with the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. These people are nice people who have jobs. Their job is working for a bank to collect your debt. Most of the time, I had great conversations with them, but I also recognized that they were the competitor. They had their job, which was to get me back on full payments at full interest, and I had my job, which was to negotiate a reduction in my debt to a level that I could afford and eliminate my debt. So this is another intimidation that I call an enticement form of intimidation, but it's still meant to get me to do what they want. I could offer you a payment plan if that would help. I see your current monthly payment is $800 a month. Can I offer you a payment of $400 a month for a year to help you? We can do that right now. You can see somebody in debt, struggling, not making their $800 a month payment. Here comes the agent to say, hey, I'll cut that in half. Now, if there's other interest that goes with it, that interest is still going to tack on to your full debt. They're not reducing your interest. They're just reducing your minimum monthly payment to make it easier for you to say, yes, I'd like to stop feeling the stress and anxiety of having collection calls every day. I so want to stop having collection calls every day. Please let me start paying $400 a month for a year and put my finances back in order and get onto full payments at full interest so that I can stop this thing that's inconvenient for me. They are enticing me to do what they want, which is a form of intimidation. Again, not really phrased in a way where saying yes or no is easy. I kind of have to think about it for a second. Okay, Kevin, I appreciate that. Thank you. But at this time, I don't feel I'd be able to keep up that payment either. Full stop. Put it back on them. Okay, I hope things get better for you. Your next payment of $1,600 is due on March 1st. You'll continue to receive these calls until your account is brought current. This is an attempt to collect a debt. And a lot of times I would even have them say further delinquency can affect your credit score. At a certain point, if this isn't brought up to date, you may be referred to our legal department. You might notice how their honey turns into vinegar a little bit on the call. Hey, I'm so sorry to hear about your troubles. Hey, we can reduce your payment. All nice stuff. But if I don't do it, they may say, hey, your credit score is going to fall. Hey, you may be referred to our legal department. Things intended to make me now be a bit fearful, to tap into more doubt and insecurity, to get me to go back and say, hey, you know what? I will take that $400 a month offer, or maybe they offer to reduce my interest rate for another introductory period, or other things to entice me to do what they want. Overall, though, not so bad a call. The old notion of people not wanting to miss a credit card payment because they were terrified of having a collection agent call them up and berate them and make them feel horrible and call them all times of day and night and call them at work and tell their family and friends that they're in debt. All of that is illegal. I go into all the illegalities so that if you ever notice any of those things, you can actually report to a collection agent who could lose their license. They could actually lose the ability to collect on your debt at all. For the most part, speaking to collection agents is not that bad as long as you're prepared. Again, create your business plan. As long as you have a plan and you're prepared for what they're going to say and what you're going to say in response, You can do it. I promise you, you can do it. So please go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com, pick up the book, you get the free debt reduction settlement target spreadsheet with it. It's awesome. It helps you plan out how to build your fund over time. You get my original copy of the Do-It-Yourself Bailout for free with it. You get an option to get an 80-page workbook that has all the assessments and exercises in the Debt Reduction Made Easy course, all printed out for you for like half price. You get the course for a massive discount just for going and picking up the book. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. Thank you again for looking at these videos. I really hope they're helpful. I really want you to be 100% debt-free as quickly as possible for as least money as possible so you can put your money and your income towards your life for the benefit of yourself and your family and your future. I will be back in touch with more later on. Have a wonderful